to study it. And that got me to think. I started to use my higher faculties. And I stopped and I used to think, wonder what I am capable of doing. You see, what I was doing, I was looking at the downside of my life. I wasn't looking at the upside. I was looking at the things I had done wrong. I wasn't looking at my potential. And you know, that book caused me to totally shift my perception of who I was and what I was. I started to understand some of these higher faculties, and my whole life began to change. You know, I went from earning $4,000 a year in 1 year to $175,000. Then it went over $1 million. I have shared these ideas with people all over the world for the past 38 years. I am firmly convinced I can show anyone how to become a millionaire simply by shifting their paradigm. And if you're going to shift your paradigm, you're going to have to learn how to use these higher faculties. Now take a look at the next mental faculty, is the will. The will is a marvelous tool. The will gives us the ability to concentrate. You see, I mentioned earlier that there's a power that flows to and through us. And as it flows through us, we give it direction. Do you know, the will to the mind is something like what a magnifying glass is to the sun. I can hold a magnifying glass, and I did when I was a child, and you probably did too, and we could cause the sun to focus. We would marshal that energy and bring it to a white-hot bead, possibly on a piece of paper, maybe leaves, sometimes on ourselves. And what did we do? We started to fire with it. We took the heat of the energy, focused it, brought it to a white-hot bead. Well, you know, that's what the mind does with the will. The will gives us the ability to take an idea and hold that idea and zero right in on something. You're going to find that all top salespeople have a highly evolved will. All top leaders have a highly evolved will. You see, it's the will that gives us the ability to focus. Think of this for a moment. Remember, we have those sensory factors. We can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Well, they're forever picking up information from outside. All of nature's creatures respond to outside stimuli. Well, the will picks up information from outside, and it scatters our brain, literally. So we've got a zillion pictures. Most people have more ideas on the screen of their mind than you'll find in an encyclopedia in a matter of a minute or two. But the person who has a highly evolved will, they think, they build an image, and they focus on that image. And they're the people that really make things happen. Yet it's the salesperson that focuses on the sale. Yet it's the leader that focuses on the objective. You know, I've got a couple of statues of Napoleon in my home. And I've got him there for a couple of reasons. I don't think he was a particularly nice guy, but he was a very powerful leader. One of his biographers called him organized victory. Another one said he had immense capacity for sustained concentration. You know, one of his biographers quoted him. He said, "I see only the objective, the obstacle must give way." Well, Napoleon had a highly evolved will. Now let's move on to the next one, intuition. You know, we talk about a woman's intuition. Women don't have any more intuition than men do. Intuition is a mental faculty. You'll often hear people refer to it as a sixth sense. It's not a sixth sense. We have five senses. We can hear, see, smell, taste, touch. Intuition is a mental faculty, and it's something everyone has. Everyone has a highly evolved intuition. Your intuitive factor is what picks up other people's vibration. When you wander in the home and somebody says, "What's wrong?" you say, "Nothing." The dog even knows something's wrong. You'll see it shooting under the table. You'll pick up people that are moody people. What do we mean by that? Well, they're either in a good mood or a bad mood. In other words, there's good energy around them or there's bad energy around them. And some people, you want to take their temperature before you even speak to them because you don't know whether they're going to kiss you or kick you. Your intuitive factor is that mental faculty that picks up the energy around a person. You see, your mental faculties really tell you a lot. Your body is a molecular structure. Your body is a mass of energy and a very high speed of vibration. You know, Simeon Kirlian, way back in the 30s, perfected a form of photography where you can photograph the energy field around a body. Now, as you change the images in your mind, the density and the color of this energy will change. Well, it's your intuitive factor that picks up that energy. And you see, when you're dealing with the mind, there isn't any such thing as time or space. You could have a good friend that's wandering down the Champs-Élysées in Paris, and you could be on Fifth Avenue in New York, and you'll get a strong vibration that you should phone that person. You're picking up their energy, their thinking. You see, thought waves are cosmic waves that penetrate all time and space. Well, your intuitive factor is what picks up their thought vibrations. Do you know, I've got a very highly involved intuitive factor, and it isn't by accident. I've consciously and deliberately worked at developing it because I'm working with audiences all the time. You're going to find that most musicians have a highly evolved intuitive factor. They may not be aware of it, but they're working with the energy of the audience all the time. Well, when you develop your intuition, you've got one of the most phenomenal faculties that you're ever going to find, and it's going to work for you. And you can do that. Now, let's go to the final one. We're going to the imagination. Someone said it's the greatest nation in the world. Napoleon Hill said, the imagination is the most powerful, most miraculous, inconceivably powerful force that the world's ever known. Think of it, an imagination. Do you know, we can build anything in our imagination. Do you know that's where all creation begins in your life? Van Gogh was a great artist. He was asked one time, he said, how he did such beautiful work? He said, I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream. Well, you know that's what you do. That's what I do. Everything's created twice, once on a mental plane and once on a physical plane. Do you know that the internet has always been here? It took someone's imagination to see it. How do you really want to live? Do you know that your imagination will take you there? Do you know what our problem is? We build the picture of how we really want to live, and our paradigm knocks that out of our mind. Because the paradigm's saying, you can't do this. See, the paradigm's like a group of little monkeys in your head that keep talking to you. And they keep telling you why you can't do something. The paradigm doesn't want to change. The paradigm is a multitude of habits. That's what culture is, group habit. I have traveled into many different countries and many different cultures. And you know something? When you get past the culture, people are essentially the same. We look different. We speak different languages. We wear different clothes. We eat different food. But you want to know something? We're all the same. We are all the same. We have a marvelous mind. There is only one mind. It's not a mind for the black and a mind for the white, mind for the Asians, mind for the Caucasians. That's not the way it is at all. There is one mind. Yet we all tune into the same mind. And these higher faculties, everyone has. And we can develop them. And we can develop them to a phenomenal degree. How well have you developed yours? Have you ever worked at developing them? That's what paradigm shift is all about. You see, we want you to take a serious and a conscious look at your life and ask yourself, how do you really want to live? That's what this series is all about. You're capable of doing anything you want. I want to suggest you start thinking of your income. That's an area that most people want to improve. I think it's inherent within us to want to enjoy time and money freedom. And you're capable of enjoying time and money freedom. You're capable of doing anything that you really want to do. What do you really want to do? Do you know, most people really don't know. If you stop the average individual on the street and ask them, what's your goal? Where are you going? What do you want to accomplish with your life? Most people don't know. It's rather sad. I'm going to share some statistics with you that are rather shocking. Do you know that 1% of our population earns 96% of all the money that's being earned? Think about that for a moment. That's almost ludicrous. As a matter of fact, if you're not familiar with it, you'll probably think I'm exaggerating, but I'm really not. 1% of our population earns 96% of all the money. How did I go from 4,000 a year to over 1 million? It was no accident. I decided that I was going to figure out what exactly did happen. And I've never stopped studying. That was 45 years ago. And you know what I found? Anyone can do it. Do you know most of the information that you're operating with that's been programmed into your paradigm is false? Oh, yeah. You see, I grew up with the idea if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. Well, I knew that wasn't true because I wasn't very smart and I was earning over $1 million a year. Think about it for a moment. I grew up with the idea if you're going to really win, you're going to have to go through school. I'd gone to high school for 2 months, and yet I teach mental health to psychiatrists today. How do these things happen? Well, they happen because the person decides they're going to happen. You see, you and I have the ability to make a decision of what we're going to do with our life. Or we can let the paradigm control us and just sort of march along in lockstep type fashion. That's what most people do. You know, most people live the same. They live the way the guy next door lives. Who's following the guy next door? Who's following the guy next door? And you know something? Unfortunately, none of them seem to know where they're going. Why do they do that? Well, they don't really know. Do you know what it is? It's their paradigm. Go into a welfare area, and you know something? Almost all welfare recipients are third, fifth, and sixth generation welfare recipients. Do you know, no one ever went through school in our family. When we got to a certain age, we were asked, are you going to go? And I said, no, I'm out of here. And as I started to study this material before I had any children, I just changed one question. I didn't ask them if they were going to go. I asked them where they were going to go. And they've all gone through school. Now, do you know, you have the ability, through a decision, of changing your life. I'm going to ask you to stop and ask yourself, what are you going to do with your life? Do you know? Have you got it written out in a clear, concise statement? Do you know what your purpose is? Do you have a vision? Do you know what your goal is? Now, in this series, we cover all these different points. You're not going to learn how to make a paradigm shift here in 30 minutes. But if you keep studying this information, it will become as clear to you as it is to me. You see, I often say I've got license to brag about all the information I've got because none of it's mine. I have just been absolutely fascinated with why you and I do what we do, why we don't do many of the things we want to do. I decided a long time ago that I was going to be in control of my life. No one else was. And then I took a look at a globe one day, and I thought, you know, this world isn't that big. As a matter of fact, the world's shrinking. And I decided I want my company to span the world. And today I have offices all around the world. I'm doing exactly what I decided to do. And you know something? When I decided, I had absolutely no idea of how I was going to do it. That's part of our paradigm. The paradigm we get hung up on how. Do you remember when you were just a little child? That's really when the conditioning was really moving into high gear. And you come and said, Mommy and Daddy, I want to do so-and-so. And they say, how are you going to do that? And because you didn't know how, they discouraged you. Where are you going to get the money? And because you didn't know where it was going to come, they discouraged you. I heard a beautiful answer one time when a person was asked where all the money was going to come from. He said, wherever it is right now. You see, you can attract it to you. You can attract it to you in enormous quantities. Now, this is about all we have time for today, but remember, there's no shortcuts in life. There really isn't. However, I have found that you can make quantum leaps through the transference of information and experience. And you know, that's what this channel is all about. That's what these programs are all about. And that's specifically what the paradigm shift is all about. So I'm going to ask you to join me again in the next show, and I'm going to dig into this a little deeper. Wherever you see me, I guarantee I'm talking about one of two things. I'm talking about money or paradigm shifts. This is Bob Proctor, and I want to thank you.